Welcome to Empowered by Iron, the podcast for female strength athletes by female strength athletes. We're your hosts, Kristen Lander from Fiercely Fueled Nutrition Coaching and Mary Morton, PhD candidate and weightlifter. Together, we are Empowered by Iron. Empowered by Iron is proud to partner with Women's Strength Coalition. Women's Strength Coalition is on a mission to build communities through increased access to strength training. To support Women's Strength Coalition, please use the link in the description below to make a tax-deductible donation to WSC. This episode is also brought to you by Fiercely Fueled Nutrition Coaching. The Fiercely Fueled method utilizes research-based facts and principles to create a custom nutrition program with the right amount of macronutrients to reach your goals, keep you healthy, and increase your athletic performance. Fiercely Fueled now offers hormone testing. If you are interested in nutrition coaching and or hormone testing from one of the best in the business, email FFN at fiercelyfueled@gmail.com or check out their website at fiercelyfueled.com to sign up. Well, hello, Kristen.
Hello, Mary.
I'm coming at you live from Colorado.
Hooray.
Colorado. Yeah, it's nice to take a little break and go see my family, and I'll be back in town right after this goes live.
Awesome. I miss you. Please come back soon.
Is it sad to say that I'm kind of ready to be back already? All right. So welcome to Empowered by Iron. We are so happy that you are here. We pose the question to both our Women in Strength Athlete Resource Facebook group page. If you're not a part of that, go get a part of that now. Women's only group on Facebook, where we have lots of good discussion about all things weightlifting, powerlifting, and nutrition, and whatever else. Feels and happy emotions and sad emotions and everything.
All the feels.
We pose the question on both our Facebook group page and our Instagram at Empowered by Iron, asking you, what myths in the fitness world would you like to see busted, or what ones are you not sure are myths or not? So we have put on our Mythbusters hats, and we've taken quite a few questions from the submitted questions, and we're going to go ahead and go through them and break them down and let you know if they're a myth or if they're have some legitimacy to them. You ready for this, Kristen?
Hell yeah. I love Mythbusters, the TV show, by the way. So I was really excited about this episode.
Supposedly they're coming out with a new version of Mythbusters but it doesn't have Jamie or Adam.
Oh, I don't know if I can do that.
I can't because they made the show.
I know.
Anyway. Okay, let's just jump into it. First, myth. You need an after lifting protein shake.
We've all heard this one 100 times.
Well, we've heard it not just you need a shake right after lifting, but you need a shake the second your fingers leave the bar for the day.
Right.
So why don't you take this one, Kristen, because this is down your alley.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the science of where this came from. As we talked about, I think it was in our last episode about body recomposition, we talked about the science of building muscle, right? So muscle protein breakdown begins really quickly after training. And in order to negate that, having a small amount of protein after training is a good idea. Your muscles are also more sensitive to the uptake of protein after training. So it's a pretty good idea. And we're going to link an article that I found for you guys. It's a really good research article if you're nerdy like us and like to read stuff. That shows that they tested a bunch of athletes, and they took athletes that were using whey protein powder, athletes that were taking a placebo supplement that maybe was whey protein powder, maybe it was. I mean, it wasn't, but they didn't know. And then athletes that took nothing after they worked out. And then they did muscle biopsies of the vastus lateralis, which is one of the muscles of your quads. And they found that after 12 weeks, that the athletes who were consuming whey protein after training had a greater increase in muscle hypertrophy as well as squat jump height after 12 weeks. So that's pretty significant. So they are putting on more muscle by having protein after. So it's a good idea to do it. I think some of the argument comes in is like the timing of
Yeah, that's the big
consuming the
one.
protein. Yeah. And the reason that I think gets a lot of different answers is because there no one totally knows. I mean, we know it's a really hard thing to measure, and when you read through all the research on it, it gets really confusing. So basically, what everyone can agree on is sometime within an hour after training is a good idea. So, does it have to be immediately? No, but within an hour of training is when your body's gonna um, be able to uptake that protein a little bit better. So, one thing that I really want to add to this, though, because it's the part that a lot of people don't know about, and I think is possibly even more important, is that carbs after
Carbs.
training. Yes, carbs after training blunt the cortisol response that's caused from training. So it aids big time in recovery, as well as it rapidly replenishes your muscle glycogen levels so that you can train again tomorrow. And you want that protein, or you want the carbs to be 3 to 1 to your protein. So if you have 20 grams of protein, you need 60 grams of carbs.
That's pretty
So
good.
that's yeah. And then leading back to that study that I talked about in the beginning, they also, besides just looking at the whey protein, the placebo, and no supplement, they looked at athletes that were using whey protein alone and whey protein with a highly digestible, quick digesting carbohydrate source. And those athletes tend to increase lean body mass more than just the protein source alone. So, my
So
answer
that's a thorough research article. Not
is
only did they
really
look
awesome, you
at
guys. We're going to,
the
yeah.
whey versus placebo versus nothing, but then they're like, okay, well, what about carbs?
Right. So, yeah, in fact, you know what? That the article that I am talking about may be a meta-analysis of a lot of the research that's out there.
Which is
So,
pretty, it's still awesome in itself because it's a lot less work for the researchers.
absolutely. Absolutely. You don't have to replicate all the research all over again. You can just look and see what's out there.
Exactly.
Yeah, so is it a myth? I think that this is one of those that we should probably do. I mean, our goal is for muscle hypertrophy, muscle strength, muscle gains. If that's your goal, yeah, you should probably do this. Is it going to kill you to skip it once in a while? No, but I think it's pretty good general advice. You're going
Uh,
to build muscle a little quicker and recover a little better.
yeah. So if this were the Mythbusters themselves, would they call this plausible?
I would say that this is plausible.
Not confirmed, but
Right.
plausible.
Close to confirmed, though. If you read the research,
Basically confirmed,
it's basically confirmed.
but they
But
always
in,
would say plausible instead of confirmed.
because in science, is anything ever really confirmed?
No, not
Right.
really.
Right. So,
So, myth number 1, plausible.
yep.
Myth number 2. This is kind of just leading off exactly what we just talked about. What to eat in the golden hour after lifting? Quick absorbing carbs. If so, what are some good choices? And is it true that you should avoid fats during that time? Kristen, take it
Yeah,
away.
absolutely. Quick absorbing carbs, like I talked about in the first place. The quick absorbing carbs are going to work together with the protein to help you recover quicker. And the higher on the glycemic index the carb is, the better. So basically, all those carbs that we're told we're supposed to stay away from are what you should have. So pasta, white rice, rice cakes, cereal, saltine crackers, or like they talked about in the research studies, was either dextrose or a glucose powder supplement, which are really popular. There's tons of them out there. I personally, my stomach can't tolerate them, so I don't use them. I just eat rice cakes. But it's whatever, something that's really quickly digesting. And yes, absolutely, fats must be avoided because they delay the digestion process by a lot. And the entire point of your post-training food is to quickly replenish the muscles and begin the repair process. So you should avoid fats for up to 2 hours if possible, but for sure 1 hour after. So if you're waiting an hour to have your protein and your carbs though, then don't put fats in with that meal. You need to wait another hour after that.
Okay, so if I'm hearing you right, post-workout, quick absorbing carbs and protein, 3-to-1 ratio, and no fat.
No fat. Yep. You got it.
Easy peasy. So far we've got confirmed. I would call this confirmed.
Yeah. Go with it for sure. Confirmed.
Ooh, this next one
is a fact in my mind.
It's a fact in my mind. Okay, myth number 3. Eating fat makes you fat.
Oh my gosh. I hate this. I wish this would go away. Don't you wish this would go away? This is awful.
There's a lot of things I would wish go away, but we'll just throw this on the list.
So dietary fat and body fat are 2 completely different things.
What?
Totally different things.
Are you telling me I'm not made of peanut butter?
I mean, well, actually, you might be.
Yeah, that's fair.
You are what you eat, right? No. Okay. Wait, that's probably how. Well, okay. So the reason that fat gets a bad rap, though, is because it's really calorically dense. It's 9 calories per gram compared to 4 calories per gram for carbs and protein. And so back in the 70s, when everyone's like trying to cut calories, someone, I'm not entirely sure who, decided, well, the best way to do that, because fats are really calorically dense, the best way to do this is let's cut back on fat. So everything became low fat, and then everyone thought that fat was the enemy. And it's totally not true. But the one thing that I will say is that fats are really easy to overeat because
they're delicious.
Yeah. I mean, and you can easily end up in a caloric surplus if you eat too many fats. This is why I don't keep trail mix in my house, because it's so good. And I'll just eat. And like, oh, what have I done? That was like 3 days worth of fat. So
I think this whole thing probably came from, like you said, the number of calories each macronutrient has. And then if we could revise this, though, I would say eating an excessive amount of fat will make you fat, but eating an excessive amount of carbohydrates will make you fat, or protein will make you fat.
Yes.
It just sounds super clever to say fat makes you fat, right?
Right. And so, right. The only way that dietary fat is going to make you fat is if you're just consuming too many calories. So
overall, which is what like every basic how to track your calories starts with, is if you're eating in a caloric surplus, regardless of your macros, you will gain weight.
Yes.
End of story.
End of story. Yeah.
But you all know, that if you're listening to this, that we don't want you to cut weight. We just want you to get strong as fuck.
Exactly.
Yep.
So I would say this myth is busted.
Fuck that myth.
It needs to go away.
Good suggestion for us to talk about, because fuck that myth.
I hope it dies a fiery death.
Amen, sister.
Really.
Amen. Okay, next one is probably one of my favorites. Do you want to read it, Kristen?
Yeah, so you're going to love this one. So you shouldn't bench with an arch because you'll hurt your back.
Benching with an arch will not hurt your back unless you push your back past its mobile capacity or its mobile threshold. I don't have an insanely mobile back. It's a little bit more mobile than some people's backs, but it's not that mobile. So when I post videos of me benching, you don't really see much of an arch, but that's not because I'm not trying to arch. It's because my back is not mobile.
Barry's like, get off my arch already.
I just want it bigger. But what the arch does do is it allows you to decrease the distance between the bar and your chest. In powerlifting, which is where the bench is used to compete, not in Olympic weightlifting, it's just an accessory, but in powerlifting, it's one of the 3 main lifts. If you can decrease the distance between the bar and your chest, which allows you to move the bar less, so then in theory you should be able to move more weight, do it. I mean, why would you not do it? The other thing it does is it places your body in the strongest position to move the most weight. This is similar to low versus high bar squatting. Low bar squatting puts your body in the most advantageous position to move the most amount of weight, period. That you cannot contest that.
Right.
You take an Olympic weightlifter who's only ever done high bar squat and you teach them how to low bar squat, they will be able to surpass their high bar squat by a lot, just simply because they're in a better position to move more weight.
For sure. Yeah, I can high bar squat like 20% more, or low bar squat like 20% more than I can high bar low. Geez, Louise.
You're very strong in low bar, but you're not as strong in high bar, even though you're still very strong in high bar.
Everyone. Yeah, that's
just exactly. How that's body mechanics.
Them the rules. That's physics.
Exactly. If you are only trying to use your pecs in the bench, then you are most definitely not reaching your full bench potential. Bench is an entire body movement. If you watch any of the good benching videos out there, mainly Jen Thompson benching 101 and benching, I think it's 201 or 102 or something. She goes through this. Like, you use your legs when you bench, you use your lats when you bench, you use your pecs, sure, when you bench, you use your abs. I mean, every part of you should be firing to move that weight. Why would you not? Why would you not use your whole body if you could to move the most amount of weight? So, in summary, benching with an arch will not hurt your back unless you move it past your back's mobile threshold.
So would you say that your arch should be as big as possible without hurting yourself?
As big as possible without hurting yourself. And I would also say, don't worry so much about getting a big arch eventually, immediately. Arch with what you can and practice on firing the rest of your body to move the weight. Once you get that timing down with firing your legs and firing your arms, your upper body to move that weight, you can start working on getting a bigger arch. But until you have that down, your arch will be what it is.
Right. Well, and even Jen Thompson talks about how she doesn't have a super mobile back, so she has to really work, and she doesn't have that big of an arch, and it's not because for any other reason other than she just does what she can. And she's the best bench presser in the world. If you do not know who she is, you need to go follow her. So yeah, she does as much as she possibly can arch is how much she arches, and she's awesome.
Usually the arch comments on Instagram come from guys who are just trying to make women feel less about themselves.
Oh, well, right.
In my humble opinion.
Of Instagram trolls. Mm-hmm.
All right. So that myth is busted.
Busted.
Okay.
So on to the next one, which is really fun. You need to do sets of 30 reps to get those lean toned muscles.
Oh my God. Okay. Before I explode. Lean and tone have nothing to do with one another. Leanness refers to your body fat percentage, and tone isn't a real word. I hate that word. Tone does not do. You can tune your musical instruments. You cannot tune your body. So your tone, it works in music, but tone does not refer to muscle. I don't know how the fucking hell that got brought into the fitness world.
I know, I hate it.
Tone is not a real word. So this myth is already busted.
All you have is either muscles that are bigger or muscles that are smaller. That's it.
Right. And
they're
whether
either bigger
you are
or smaller.
A higher body fat percentage or a lower body fat percentage, you'll be able to see your muscles differently. Right. So sets of 30 reps, moving on to that because we both hate toned. Sets of 30 reps.
I also hate 30 reps.
Oh yeah, me too. But what can you do? 30 reps is considered hypertrophy, which allows for muscle building under less of a load, i.e., less weight for a higher volume. So like with squats, you could do, instead of doing, let's say, 3 sets of 5, you could do 5 sets of 3. 5 sets of 3 would be a different, it would be more strength focused. 3 sets of 5 would be more hypertrophy focused, but you still get the same volume. You're just using a different amount of weight. If that makes sense. So you then create muscle definition by building muscle. That's what quote unquote toned is muscle definition. And you can't have muscle definition if you don't have muscles. So get yourself on a good strength program and you'll get muscles. And then if you want muscle definition, if you want people to be like, holy shit, your biceps look really good, they are bulging, and you want people to look at you like a bodybuilder would, then you'd have to reduce your body fat. But you're not going to get toned muscles just because you do 3 sets of 30.
Right.
Fucking busted.
Busted. Okay. Moving on to another really interesting one that we got that made me LOL really hard.
This is my favorite one.
Lifting heavy will make your uterus fall.
No. There really isn't a logical justification for this except biology. The only reason I could see this as something some people are afraid of is because when you lift, you are pushing with all your might, and this push might cause your uterus to fall right out of your vagina. Just like, oh my God, so much pressure. We're just gonna, because sometimes people take a dump when they lift. That's a lot of pressure. It's true. Some people shit their pants when they lift. No judgment if that is you. We accept you and we love you.
Except that pants pooping makes me laugh really hard.
I mean, it's happened to me once and it was pretty horrible. Anyway.
Thank God we train in a private facility now.
Oh God, I know. So if you were pushing with all your might, if this were true, if your uterus would fall out, if you were pushing with all your might, you would lose all your, like any woman who's ever had a child, all of her intestines would also come out with the child. It just doesn't make sense. So no, the uterus is held in place by muscles and ligaments. If you have a weak pelvic floor, like if you pee during lifting, that's a sign of a weak pelvic floor. You could be at risk of this, quote unquote, your uterus will not fall out.
Well, there is something called a prolapsed uterus, but
I doubt that comes from lifting.
Right. So postmenopausal women are actually at risk of uterine prolapse due to a decrease in estrogen because that plays a role in uterine health. So, if you have a hormonal imbalance due to chronic dieting and overtraining, you could actually be at risk of this. If your estrogen levels are like at postmenopausal level or menopausal level, and maybe you pee during your lifting, you could potentially be at risk of this. So this is just one more reason to eat enough food, get enough rest. And then the only thing I could see is if you do have uterine prolapse, like you already have this, then you do need to avoid heavy lifting. But I think that if we keep our bodies healthy and do some Kegel exercises and make sure that you have a really strong pelvic floor, this is just silly. This is just put out by men who are intimidated by strong women.
Like for the general population, your uterus is not going to fall out because you are overexerting yourself lifting things. There is a handful of people that it could happen to, but that's not your normal person walking into a gym.
Totally. And the other thing is that I think that if you don't lift heavy throughout your life, then you probably are at a greater risk of having a weak pelvic floor, and it could actually cause uterine prolapse later in life. So basically, I think that this is like the opposite of busted, because this is basically saying if you don't lift, your uterus is going to fall.
Yeah. So you need to keep lifting and getting strong. Just use that as a motivator. Or your uterus will fall out.
Don't want that thing poking through.
Okay, on to the next one. Mm-hmm. Lifting as an adolescent will stunt your growth.
Yeah.
There's no evidence to support this claim.
Right. Basically.
Unless the adolescent is doing improper movements and injures or damages their growth plates, which are, yes, very important. And if you do damage a growth plate, you will grow funny. Then lifting does not affect growth. There just isn't evidence out there to support this. If you have evidence out there and you would like to send us research articles on this subject, we'd be more than happy to take them. In fact, I would love to read them, but I could not find anything. I found stuff about coffee for sure, like caffeine and youth, but lifting, Meh. No.
No, yeah, like you said, unless you're going to damage the epiphyseal plate, the end plate of the bones, which is, I mean, I would be more likely in contact sports than
Yeah,
in
like
lifting.
football.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. All right, so that myth is busted.
Busted. And I think that leaves
All
us with our last myth.
Right, which is one that drives me crazy, and it's
one we could talk about for hours.
For hours. It's about targeted fat loss. Like we see all those commercials, like buy this ab machine and do 1,000,000 crunches so that you can lose weight. And then they have like before and after pictures of people and make people think like, oh, if I do all those crunches, I'm going to have a 6-pack, even though I'm 50 pounds overweight.
Tone tummy in 30 days. It's my favorite one.
Yeah. What the hell?
You cannot spot reduce. To lose any amount of fat, you must consume less calories than your body burns in a day. That's it.
End of story.
End of story. A lot of the spot reduction nonsense is what leads a lot of poor young girls into eating disorders because they think if they just do X, Y, and Z, they'll lose fat in these places. Oh, my thighs are too big. Oh, I've got this extra fat on my stomach. If I just do X, Y, and Z, it'll go away. And then it doesn't. And then they learn if they stop eating, then it goes away. And then we just lead ourselves down a trail of nonsense.
Total nonsense. Totally agree.
Yeah.
So targeted fat loss.
Busted. That was a lot of fun.
That was fun.
I wish we would have grabbed more. We kind of picked some of them that we thought would be really good. And now I'm wishing that we had chosen more for you.
Well, maybe we can make this a thing. So you guys,
do a part 2.
We could do a part 2. So if you guys have some myths that you would like busted, send them to us.
And not even just easy myths. Like if you heard something that seems really complicated, send it to us. We'll break it down.
For sure.
Love that stuff.
We're nerds. We love doing research.
We do. It's our favorite thing. Mm-hmm. Okay, if you are going to be at the Arnold, so is Empowered by Iron. We're going to be there the night of the 1st, although I can't guarantee we're going to be sane because we're going to be driving.
It's going to be like a 9-hour drive.
It's going to be awesome. Mm-hmm. We're going to be there and we're going to try to set up a meetup. So if you would like to meet with us and you're going to be at the Arnold in Columbus, Ohio, make sure you go join our Women's in Strength Athlete Resource Facebook group page because we're going to coordinate it through there. That way we don't bug people on Instagram about this stuff, but we can kind of direct you there. So we're going to try to coordinate the meetup through there. So go join that. If you haven't already, go check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/empoweredbyiron. Your support would mean the world to us, and we can continue to build this podcast and this community to something that could basically take over the fitness strength industry.
Hell yeah, take over the world.
Hell yeah. And we have some exciting things coming up in March and May, which we are not going to talk about quite yet. But keep your eyes and ears peeled. We've got some fun things coming up. And yeah, as always, thank you so much for listening. Anything else,
guys.
Kristen?
No. Thanks for tuning in, and we will talk to you in 2 weeks. In the meantime, go to Patreon, though, because if you subscribe to at least even the $3 level, you get extra content for us, and we put something out at least every week.
Yeah.
If not more often.
Yeah. All right. Until next week, or until next 2 weeks.
Adios.
Bye.